Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into First Pitch, the MLB betting show here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. I am Drew Martin. Happy Monday morning to you. May 16th, I'm joined by Brian Leonard and Tony Finn of WagerTalk.com. We're breaking down 3 games on tonight's slate. We got best bets at the end, some good analysis coming up for you as we're breaking down St. Louis Cardinals, New York Mets. We got the Atlanta Braves, Milwaukee Brewers, and the San Francisco Giants and the Colorado Rockies for the nightcap. Best bets at the end. Going around the horn here, Brian Leonard, WagerTalk.com. Welcome in, buddy. Happy Monday morning to you.
Yes, happy Monday, $9 Monday. Full slate of, well, not quite a full slate of baseball, but it's all at night. And I always like the cards where they're all together, especially if you play fantasy sports, because you get those one o'clock game could screw up your entire fantasy card for the day because you don't know who's going to be playing in the games at night. So I like it like this because we know who's going to play. We're not in a rush to get our plays in, and we should do better on our plays, I would think, when they're all played at night.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm picking up what you're laying down there. We also got Tony Finn, known by some as Tijuana Tony. He's had some good baseball seasons in the past. And hey, check him out, WagerTalk.com. $9 Monday. Tony, welcome in. Happy Monday to you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you guys. Good to hear from you guys. It is. Summer's here, isn't it? Summer's almost here, let's say. We're down to the Final Four, the NBA. After that, unless you're passionate about USFL or Korean baseball or WNBA, then baseball is what we have, which is okay with me.
It is okay with me as well. The America's pastime here this summer. So it's going to be a good summer, guys. We're going to be breaking it down for you here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel each and every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down the games. Let's get after it, guys. We got the St. Louis Cardinals and the New York Mets here, Brian. Miles Mikolas rocking that good mustache. I don't know if you've seen him, but he's also throwing a good changeup, good fastball as well. However, Brian, we got that Sunday night fade in effect on the Cardinals. They're up against the Metropolitans. Guys, if you just getting into MLB here now, they've been one of the most surprising teams this season. Some good baseball, not only from the Yankees, but the Mets as well. Throwing Williams. We're seeing a competitively priced game here, Brian, seeing minus 115, just slight favorites here on the Mets. Of course, Mikolas commanded some respect in the betting markets. What are you liking Cards and Mets tonight?
Yeah, I just did the Wager Talk Today show, and the first 2 games we're going to talk about, Marco D'Angelo, I had plays on them. So if anybody wants to get an additional view on these first 2 games, you can always check that out. I like the Mets here. If you take a look at year-to-date WRC plus, they're about 8% better hitting against righties than St. Louis is. Williams is a guy who his stats look terrible this year, but if you break it down a little bit better in the StatCast information, he's had some poor luck, so we would expect a little bit better out of him, but we won't get many innings out of him. But he'll get out there and he'll throw maybe a couple to start it all off. But I'm looking to fade Mikolas at this point. His numbers have been terrific this year, but he's a guy who doesn't strike out a lot of people, and I believe he's been had some benefit to his play so far this year. So we're betting against the St. Louis team with a pitcher who is over his head, playing over his head against a Mets team with a pitcher I think is playing. He's better than what his stats show. And as you mentioned, St. Louis playing the Sunday night game, and they score 15 runs in that game. So they're coming off that high, going up against the Mets here. The Mets had a good record so far this year against teams over 500, better record than St. Louis. And the line is fair here. It's about where it started. We're looking at 110 to 115 here on the Mets. That's the side I prefer here.
Okay, good stuff, Brian, to start it off. Tony, coming to you next. Brian brought up some good points, man, because I kind of think it's a tricky handicap. It's almost like a cross flow here. I'm looking to bet on Mikolas, but at the same time, Brian brought up some points of, hey, maybe there's some regression because he's not striking guys out. However, he rocks that mustache. I almost feel like that kind of throws people off. Like, what the heck? This guy's throwing, upper or mid 90s, and he's rocking that. Like, is this guy for real? What's really going on here? But he's got that good changeup, and then they are off of the Sunday night baseball fade as well. And it was one of those Sunday night games where it was a blowout. What was it, 15-3, something like that? They were throwing Albert Pujols in the ninth. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though, because you could look at it as, hey, they they're feeling good about themselves. But also you could look at it as, hey, maybe they're able to rest up and just be ready to rock on Monday. It's a tricky one. I haven't bet it. What are your thoughts here, Tony?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said by both of you. I'm from the school of thought that Mikolas is going to have some regression. I mean, he has been really good. He's been good. Schedule hasn't been anything overwhelming for him, but this is a guy who has a 1.49 ERA, 7 starts with an X ERA closer to 2.75, which isn't horrible, right? It's FIP right at 3. So I wouldn't say that's still pretty darn good, right? But he's running with a 244 BABIP, a 90% strand rate, and with a well below average strikeout rate. All things equal, regression's inevitable, right? Unless you go through 35 starts of very fortunate bounces and directions of balls hit and essentially inducing ground balls. So it'll be interesting. I'm really interested more so, and maybe I've been kind of waiting for some sharp money to go one way or another on Mikolas. What I do know is this. I don't know if you guys buy into this or not, but what I do know is that this Cardinals team is they're not great. They're not great. They're not even really good. And they can't hit right-handed pitching. I mean, especially if it's good quality right-hander. You're going to throw Tony Finn out there. They're probably going to hit me pretty well. Goldie's probably going to take me yard 5 times, and he's only going to be up 4 times. But they don't hit right-handed hit pitching very well. And if you want it really good, now it's a small sample size, and I have a best bet on PlayerNet, and I'll go into it more. But if you go into it and you find out that Badish, for instance, of Baltimore, who struck out a total of 4 or 5 guys in his first 2 starts, struck out 11 Cardinals. 11 Cardinals on that afternoon. So let's do this. I'm not buying into the late Sunday. It is what it is. We're talking about hours in the day, sleep, not so much whether you win or whether you lose. But are you buying into this? And that is that, the Mets believe that the Sunday night baseball is juiced. Have you read a little bit about that? Talked about that conspiracy theory that the baseball wants in prime time, they want some runs and some excitement, et cetera, et cetera. And they're saying the balls that are being delivered for Sunday night games are different. So that said, I'm not on this game, but I'm going to watch it. And I want to see what the line does with Mikolas and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because this is the time of the year, at least for me, guys, I pay attention to things that are goofy or that are unusual. And for instance, there's lots of pitchers out there. We know them. They get buried, or they get faded, or they get just hit hard overnight lines. It's typical ace. The overnight ace, 20 to 30 cent juice. But let's see what happens with this. I agree with you guys, though. I believe there's regression on Mikolas and if this Cardinals team's facing a right-handed pitcher, I'm either watching or I'm fading them.
Tony, great analysis there. Bringing up Tony possibly getting on the hill there, guys. Tijuana Tony, the former Mexican League baseball star, quite possibly. I'm not really sure where he was going with that, but good. And also good stuff from the chat box here, guys. We got Rara, we got Buck G in the house saying Pujols, their new starter, throwing out jokes. But he's also bringing up a good point here, Buck, is in terms of Mikolas pitched well against this Mets team on April 25th, went 7 innings, only giving up 4 hits, had 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. Of course, that's something I work into my handicap a lot, guys, how you performed against that lineup that you're facing in the past. It points well towards Mikolas, and Rara bringing up the fact that Williams is 3-6 when starting against St. Louis with over a 5.8 ERA. So the chat box bringing the heat as well. Thanks for joining us live each and every day, Monday through Friday, 2:00 Eastern time, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Please smash that like button, guys, if you're liking the content, and feel free to reply below if you have any bets that you're looking to make on tonight's card. Any questions, we'll answer them throughout the week as well. Next game up, let's head to it. The Atlanta Braves and the Milwaukee Brewers. As I pull up the Wager Talk live odds screen here. Tony, we'll come to you first, man. We got the Braves on the road here in Milwaukee. Ian Anderson on the hill versus Peralta going for the Brew Crew. We're seeing anywhere from -132. That's at the Westgate in Las Vegas. That looks to be the low water mark, to as high as -140 at DraftKings. Total of 8 in Milwaukee. You like anything Braves and Brewers?
But Ian Anderson's not getting much. He's not getting a whole lot of money recently. Last couple of starts, he hasn't pitched over the top great. It hasn't come close to who he was before 2022, should I say. And for the most part, this Brewers team, their schedule has been pretty soft. Now, this is also the time of year when I do the best I can on SOS. Now, SOS in baseball is a much different animal than it is in football or college football, or even in college basketball, for that matter, because of the large number of teams. This is just a Milwaukee team that I have a hard time trusting to hit quality pitching. They're going to pitch pretty well. Woodruff's not. There's something wrong there with him. His hard contact is ridiculously over the top, not like it's been in the past. And I know I'm talking about this in general. Braves, Brewers, maybe a serious price. I would be on the Braves here. Peralta, 4.40 ERA, 3.43, I believe, was the xERA I looked at this morning, but a FIP of 2.37. Now, the line moves with this Milwaukee bunch of pitchers are typically always, basically supporting them and not against them. And this is a really good Atlanta hitting team, guys. Well, I think we both know that I think they rank right now, if you want, in weighted numbers, second or third in baseball as far as quality lineups and capability of putting up big numbers. I'm gave out a free play today, and it's on Ian Anderson and the Atlanta Braves. I like them mostly because I think that this series will tell a lot about Milwaukee and a couple series moving forward. Their schedule, again, has been soft. They've survived some pitching, some pitching, poor performances, some injuries. Let's see what happens going forward.
Let's see what happens here, Brian. What are you thinking here, Braves and Brew Crew? Of course, the Braves. I mean, is this a World Series hangover? Is this a buy low opportunity on them? What are you thinking here?
It's interesting. In the last game we discussed, Tony says he looks for things a little bit strange and unusual. So I think that's what his wife was looking for when she met him. Tony's a little bit out there, and we all enjoy it. So, he's. First thing I thought of as soon as he said that, I go, yeah, his wife's looking at that too. But unfortunately, I think I am going to go against Tony in this game. If you take a look at the Fangraphs WRC Plus on the season, the Brewers are 15 better than Atlanta is. And when you look at the schedule so far this season, Atlanta is being outscored by 14 runs on the season. Milwaukee is up 28. So there's a 42-run differential here between Milwaukee and Atlanta. But when you look at where they played, Atlanta's played 21 games at home, 14 on the road. Milwaukee only 14 at home, 21 on the road. So that tells you how much better Milwaukee's played over Atlanta this year. Now, granted, Acuna missed a lot of this season, but he's out right now. And I haven't heard as of yet if he's got a groin problem, if he's going to be playing tonight. So you've got to take into account that maybe he's not playing tonight, which would give us a lot of value here on Milwaukee. It's moved up about 5 to 10 cents, and I agree with that line move. So far in the season, both teams against better than 500 teams, they're both one game under 500. Milwaukee did have that problem last year. They were beat up on the weak teams and struggled against the better teams. So when I take a look here, Ian Anderson's a guy I'm looking to fade. You take a look at his StatCast numbers, there's really nothing but light blue all the way across. His strikeout percentage is 17.1. His walk percentage is 12.4. That's not something I'm looking to back here. Freddie Peralta, the last year, he was tremendous, but he still has, other than hard hit percentage, which is 47.2, he's in the red across the board. And as opposed to Anderson, his strikeout percentage is 30.5, walk percentage 8.9. I'd much rather see that than the numbers that Ian Anderson are putting up there. Milwaukee does have guys on there that, from a barrel percentage, over 10%. Yelich, Tellez, Adames, and Renfroe, and then Tyrone Taylor, who doesn't play often, he's at 9.3. So they've hit a little bit pretty good here on some of these players, although the obvious strength is Milwaukee is the pitching staff. I think the line's fair. I like Milwaukee in this matchup.
Okay, looking towards Milwaukee here, guys. We got one game left. Shout out to the chat box again. C. James saying that could honestly be a movie. Tony Finn, the veteran Mexican League pitcher, also saying open mic night here for Brian Leonard, guys, bringing the heat in the chat box. One game left here. Best bets at the end. This is a good one, guys. A lot of different interesting handicapping angles in the NL West game. San Francisco Giants at the Colorado Rockies. Another Sunday night baseball fade here with the Giants coming off of that beatdown, Brian. Now heading to altitude against the Colorado Rockies. We're seeing it, minus 150, plus 130 on the other side for the Rockies. We're actually seeing them now, guys, looking at the WagerTalk odds screen, as high as plus 140 at the South Point in Las Vegas. That's the Rocks as the home underdog. Alex Wood on the hill for the Giants. Sensatella going for the Rocks. You liking anything a mile high tonight, Brian?
I do. Out of the three games we've discussed, you have a higher opinion on this one than the others. These two teams just played last week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and the San Francisco swept them, including a loss here for the starting pitcher for Colorado. And when you get a quick rematch like that, I prefer to have play against the pitcher who pitched well in the last time and play on the pitcher who pitched poorly. And that was Sensatella. That was his worst outing of the season. He's not a guy who's going to strike a lot of people out, so you're not going to get a lot of people, especially in Colorado, that are going to want to bet on him. So I think we get a little bit of an advantage here from all the guys that are playing the strikeout and walk ratios, that kind of thing, the overpowering pitchers. But from a scheduling standpoint, San Francisco in the month of May here play a 2-game series against the Dodgers. They play a 4-game series against the Cardinals. They play Colorado, swept them. And by the way, they went 0-2 against the Dodgers, 2-2 against the Cardinals. Then they play the Cardinals again over the weekend. They lose 2 out of those 3. Now they're playing the Rockies again. But on deck, they've got the Padres and the Mets. So you're playing by far the lesser-known teams, less experienced teams out there. And the last time they played them was a week ago, and they swept them. So I think it's a situation from a mental standpoint. San Francisco could come into this game a little overconfident against the Rockies. The Rockies at home are a whole different team than they are on the road. We see it every single year. Just bet on Colorado at home, bet against them on the road. It's been a moneymaker for I don't know how long. I like the Rockies here. It's a situation where we're getting a nice plus price here with the team that we like. And when you take a look at San Francisco, Colorado's fared well against lefties. They've hit well against lefties all season long. And I think they'll have some success there against Wood. I like Wood overall, but pitching in Colorado with a total of 12, I think Colorado's going to get some runs here, and I like Colorado as the underdog.
Yeah, good analysis there, guys, from Brian Leonard. Tony, up next, I agree with Brian towards the Colorado side. Also, we got Godfather 59 saying, they can't make this total high enough in Colorado. Alex Wood, what his ERA in Colorado is over 8.5. Sensatella really hasn't been great this season, although he does have a little bit of a unique profile of his numbers are better in Colorado. You'll see the Rockies sign these guys where they find ways to kind of be decent pitching and altitude, but still, I think there's a lot of runs scored here. So I agree with the chat box, Godfather 59. What are your thoughts, though, Tony? You might be on the other side, I'm thinking.
Well, I'm not on the other side, but Brian said, I would say this: if you talk to those who bet the Rockies at home, this past weekend, they didn't fare very well. In fact, very could have been swept by a Royals team that can't hit a baseball, and no matter where they play. So they are, I think 12-7 at home, Colorado. But this is a team I don't trust. I don't trust him since he's become a reliable starter. He's an innings eater. Every once in a while, he has a case of the hiccups. He's pitched 6 or more innings in 16 of his last 21 starts. However, he's 2-6 with a 4.0 ERA in those starts. 6 home runs, struck out 83 in that period, walked 21. In his last start, 3 runs. I think it was 3 runs. 3 runs on 7 hits against a Nationals team in a Colorado victory, a 9-7 victory. This is a Rockies team that's minus 28 in run differential, playing a San Francisco team I think that's played a really good schedule. And while they had that one stretch where they struggled to bring the runners in scoring position, this is a good team. They pitch well, they're coached well. They didn't yesterday's game against Sunday night save that one. I'm quite certain, and people are going to call me crazy, but I'm quite certain they'll turn Junis, who couldn't get anybody out in Kansas City, into a reliable 5th or 6th starter. That's what they do. We'll see what happens to Cobb. Is he the next surprise that comes out of Giant Land, out of that pitching coach, that pitching coaching tree there that's done terrific work? I cannot support the Rockies, not since Tata, against the Giants team that I'm just thinking this. I don't buy into the Sunday night primetime hiccup that people want to buy into. I think this is a game that San Francisco knows where they're at. They know what they have to do. They're 20-14. They know they're still a game and a half out of first place at 20-14 this stage of the season. They're right there. I think every single inning and every single pitch means a lot to this team and this coach, and I like everything about San Francisco for the most part.
Tony, just a follow-up question to you real quick, man.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up Sunday night baseball and different balls. Was that a kind of a joke, a conspiracy theory, or do you think there's actually something to that?
Well, I mean, it's been talked about and it's been written about, and the Mets were the first to bring it up. And since then, of course, it's streamed a little bit. If you want to read a little bit about this, and I've talked to a lot of guys about this, and I really listen. I don't put too much past baseball ownership and how this company has been run over the years. They're going to deny until someone brings out full evidence of stuff, and then they're going to blame it on somebody else, like they did with the Stickum, like they did with the steroids, and Sosa and McGuire and all. Deny until you can't possibly deny it anymore. Well, let's see. There, an article. I don't know where you would read about it, but I think the article is that you catch it since the Mets check sports not NAUT. Some of the New York newspapers, but you'll see that that last night was another signal. I mean, 15-6 in a game where you had arguably the best left-hander. Now, Cardinals can hit left-handers, but this is Rodon. He's been about as good as anybody. If you look at his strikeouts to walks, et cetera, et cetera. What happened last night with and 3 of the runs came with who? With we had a Hall of Famer who hits home runs and doesn't pitch in the 9th inning because he wanted to pitch in a Major League Baseball game. And that's what we got. And I think he gave up a couple home runs in that. But I don't. This is not something I'm making up or that I may have mentioned and started some kind of a rumor. No, I mean, if you talk to people that are in close to this, look up Eric Chavez and what he told Newsday's Tim Healy, for instance, is where I started reading about this at first. And you'll find out that they've deadened the baseball this year. I think everyone's convinced of that to some degree, especially elasticity. But this conspiracy theory about Sunday nights is pretty interesting.
Yeah. No, heck, that could be kind of a winning angle going forward. That's something I'm definitely going to circle on Sunday Night Baseball because Carlos Rodon. I thought he was gonna. I took a little piece of the Giants, and sure enough, they were crooked numbers all over the place. That ball was flying around. There could be something to it. Brian, do you think there's anything to that? And also, we talked about strength of schedule. Tony brought it up in terms of like college football. That's huge. Do you bring in strength of schedule? I mean, you've 4 or 5 profitable seasons here, MLB. You know, MLB betting is good as anybody out there. Do you bring in a lot of strength of schedule and anything on the Sunday night baseballs before we get to best bet?
Yeah, I read the same articles that Tony did, and at this point, it's such a small sample size, you can't tell. I'd have to go back and look at what the weather was in those games, and so I'm not ready to make that judgment. But there has been players out there that have talked about that, so it's out there in the marketplace, and we'll see what happens to it. As for strength of schedule, I do when it comes to home games and road games, and also when it comes to what your schedule is. If I find a team that's played a lot of contenders, and all of a sudden you're playing a non-contender, you couldn't help but think that they would take advantage of that, and there'll be a situation where they may overlook them. So yeah, it's something I take a look at. Eventually, it all evens out a little bit, but it's something that I really use for the playoffs. And we talked about it last year. You know, a lot of people were real high on the Chicago White Sox, but I talked about their record in division. It was a weak division last year, and it was also a situation where they just were very good against lefties. They weren't good against righties, and so it's a lot of things you got to take a look at. And when they played over 500 ball clubs, they struggled, and so once they get to the playoffs, they lose. That's something you can use for the postseason and really get some nice winners when you're looking at teams to win it all once the playoffs teams are announced.
Okay, good stuff from Brian Leonard, guys. Check out both Brian and Tony, WagerTalk.com. I'm up there as well. Drew Martin, we got free plays up and available. $9 Monday as well. All plays discounted to just $9. Tony Finn, #1 MLB profit leader at WagerTalk all time. Tony, I'll throw it over to you. Best bets, final thoughts for the show, bud.
Well, we'll go to. I spoke to this, or at least mentioned Kyle Bradish of the Orioles, and they're playing. In truth, it's a young kid, and he's had 3 starts. And I didn't write these numbers down, so I'd have them in my heart or anything. And I'll try to bring them up as I talk here a little bit, because I believe it was 4 or 5 strikeouts over his first 2 starts, and he met a Cardinals team that at that point in time I was already making a little bit of paper fading them against right-handers. On several occasions, I even faded them against what I would consider pedestrian or less than right-handed pitchers. But Bradish had 11 strikeouts against this Cardinals team, and this is more Bradish's performance that day was more as much about the Cardinals as it is about him. He was on that day. He has to be pretty darn good to strike out 11 against anybody. So we got to give him some credit. But tonight he's got the Yankees at Camden Yards, and believe it or not, I just took another look at it, but I had under 4.5 strikeouts for Bradish tonight, and I thought I was paying too much juice at $1.35, and I just looked, and now that he's a minus 165 at Pinnacle, which is pretty reliable, under 4.5 strikeouts. So we may have waited too long, or it may have been something where you may have to wait to get a 5.5. But I sure liked under 4.5. So not 4.5, but I'm certainly going to like anything above that. You may have to get a 4 or less than that. So I'd steer clear of that per se. But Bradish under 4.5 strikeouts against the Yankees tonight.
Good stuff from Tony Finn with the strikeout prop there. Guys, for my best bet, I'm going with the Houston Astros. Can get them as high as plus 112. Looks to be about plus 110. And this is one I got down on last night, guys. I'm surprised this line is holding up. Hey, could be on the wrong side. I don't think so, though. We got a first-place team in the Astros, the hottest team in Major League Baseball, and a last-place team in the Boston Red Sox. I mean, lineup-wise, the Astros are the hottest team in baseball the past week. Betting on that as well. And the fact Whitlock, the starter for the Red Sox, he's not going deep in games. It's mostly just 3-4 innings. He's only the furthest he's gone is 5 innings. And that Red Sox bullpen hasn't exactly been great. And Odorizzi going for the Astros, his last 2 starts, almost just under 12 innings. He hasn't given up a run. So we're getting a hot pitcher, a hot lineup, winning 12 of the last 13 games in the Astros at a plus price. Sign me up, guys. I'm on the Astros. That's my best bet. Got a $9 play up as well. WagerTalk.com. Drew Martin. You can read that detailed written analysis up at my page. And throw it over here to Brian Leonard. WagerTalk.com. 4 of the last 5 MLB seasons, all profitable. He knows his baseball. Great guy to buy those extended packages with, guys. He'll bet the underdogs. He'll bet the plus on the run line there. 3, 7, 30-day all access. He's a good guy to circle and get on. Also, he's passing today for his client plays. So we're getting his best bet here on the show. It does pay to watch, guys. Brian, throw it over to you. Final thoughts for the show, and where's your best bet at?
Yeah, we just talked about the best bet. That'll be the Colorado Rockies plus 140. And I won't elaborate much more on that at this point, but I do want to touch on Tony's talking about Kyle Bradish. The 2 games he started in Baltimore, he had 2 strikeouts and 3 strikeouts, and he went a total of 10 innings. The game against St. Louis that he had all the strikeouts, that was on the road. So keep an eye on these Baltimore pitchers. Baltimore, when they moved the fence back in left field, it's making all the Baltimore pitchers look really good at home. And so if you're looking to play Baltimore games, at least at home, I'd be looking to the under here. I happen to like Bradish a little bit. And it's tough to go against the Yankees playing under in a Yankees game as hot as they've been. But I think Tony's got a nice winner there. I think you've got a winner, and hopefully we can sweep it with my Colorado Rockies tonight as my best bet on the show.
All right, let's go for that sweep on the best bets, guys. In recap, I'm on the Stros, plus 110. We get Tony Finn, Kyle Bradish there, under 4.5 strikeouts, minus 135. Has been some movement, so make sure to shop around on that one. And Brian Leonard, big dog barking and a home dog in the Colorado Rockies, plus 140. Risk 100 to win 140. Guys, again, huge shout out to the chat box. All you guys joining us live. We really appreciate the feedback. All the good back and forth between you guys is all welcome. And feel free to reply below, guys. What you think about that Sunday night baseball? Are they changing the baseballs there in prime time, getting more scoring? What your thoughts are on that? Is it a conspiracy theory? Are we on to something? Should we bet overs going forward Sunday night baseball? All is welcome in the reply section below on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Check out WagerTalk.com, $9 Monday. Brian Leonard, Tony Finn, I am Drew Martin. Guys, best of luck with your bets. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Come back and join us. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.